Hey, hey, hey.
Hey, hey, hey.
Welcome back to Video Game Tango. Tonight we discuss the live-action Cowboy Bebop and Mortal Kombat movie. Then Russ had to pee. After the break, we discussed... No, we're going to keep going. Metroid Dread and Jaffe's Quibbles, God of War on PC, and the recurring promises of ultra-large-scale combat in video games.
An update from Nick. Theory crafting has indeed proven Gwyneth Paltrow wrong. Emerald is the best in slot butt plug.
I'm Josh, and I might not be your Huckleberry, but I can be your Bebop.
My name's Russ, and I would like to server transfer to a new Earth.
My name's Andy. Welcome to Video Game Tango.
So we just finished up watching the newest teaser trailer for Cowboy Bebop, the live-action series coming to Netflix. And we're definitely kind of a consensus that I already forgot his name. John Cho playing Spike Spiegel is not a great fit. Feels a little awkward. I was just thinking that I would have actually really liked them to find like just 3 Asian people to do it that aren't celebrities of any kind.
Sure.
But I also feel like that I'm always going to want to kind of revert more and more towards it being an anime, and by having those characters, it's going to feel more like an anime to me. Like having actual Asian looking, I guess like Japanese actors and stuff, because
John Cho isn't Asian enough for you?
But he's an American actor.
Yeah, that's true.
He's not. That's what I mean.
Okay.
Having recently watched Squid Game and stuff, where like you try to watch that dubbed, and it's
I didn't even try.
I
Straight
got
to sub.
There's no way.
I tried the first like 15 seconds of it, and I was like, this is horrendous.
Maybe that's why I'm having so much trouble watching it, is because I'm trying to watch it dubbed.
Oh
and
God,
yeah,
that's
don't.
100%.
I cannot get.
I know it's a little
mean,
off topic, but that first scene where his mom comes home, or he comes home, and he's having like an emotional reaction to their conversation was so
you're gonna lose all emotion.
Yeah, it was like it felt like they hired some Fiverr fucking American dubbers to do that show. Like it was so bad. And then, but going back to Cowboy Bebop, I think that I would want it to be almost like subtitled or in its native language, so it feels more like the original. But I don't know if that's.
I don't know. There's a couple of scenes seeing John Cho. I don't know. Just like I saw it was Harold from Harold and Kumar in White Castle, and I was like, I don't know. It really pulled me out of it. And I, not to be ageist or anything, but I always imagine Spike Spiegel is a bit younger. John Cho has shown a little age, which is fine. He's getting up there. It's cool. But I just don't know. I don't know.
Yeah, I guess we don't know, and like for me, the trailer just didn't do it for me. But it is a trailer, and that's often the case. So.
No, I know John Cho is like a big driving force for getting this done. Like he really went to bat for it. I mean, he put his body on the line trying to do his own stunts.
Oh, I didn't know that he was the one that like pushed.
No, he was a big pusher for it.
Well, I mean, if I could pay somebody to make me into The Witcher or something for an entire series, I'd probably do the same thing.
For sure.
So,
personally,
give it a try.
Unlike these guys, which, no begrudgment at all, I really don't care whose cast is who. At the end of the day, I've found as I get older, what's important to me is if they're doing like a cover, right, or whatever you would call a remake of already a property, portray the character, right? If you don't look the part to the point where it's glaringly obvious, you don't want like a 16-year-old playing an 80-year-old, right? It doesn't bother me. But to touch on what we did talk about as far as the trailer's content goes, it didn't jive with what I felt like the anime tried to portray, right? Yeah. It was a story about broken people trying to find their way through life. It was very much pulpy, 60, almost Austin Powers level, like pulpy bounty hunter, drama. And that's fine, again, because I want to go into this thinking this is not a remake or even like an adaptation, but an homage to the feel of Cowboy Bebop. And if all they can take from that is surface level pulp and jazz, it could be worse. They're not going to be able to recreate the magic that was the first one. So try something new. We'll see if it works out.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I mean, that soundtrack will always get me jazzed up a little bit. It can't not.
I don't think a week has gone by.
They're
in my
going.
life that I haven't
They're
listened
going
to
the
it.
right way to make it successful. Apparently, the guy who was the for the original anime is pretty involved in the live action, and they're actually listening to him at least for this season. So we'll. I mean, that's
Watch D&D rear their
I'm going to
heads.
say that's a point in their favor, but
Sure.
just while it's currently happening doesn't mean it's always going to happen. Look at Walking Dead, for example.
Game of Thrones.
Game of Thrones.
Game of Thrones. Also
many
Game
things.
of Thrones.
Yeah, and Game of Thrones.
Speaking of adaptations,
Mortal Kombat has been watched finally by me. So I finally got around to watching it. I took 2 sittings to get through it, mostly because it was late and I had to go to sleep, but not because it was so terrible that I had to force myself to watch it.
Yeah.
Having said that, I'm definitely of the boat that it is not a good movie. It is not. It is arguably, if on a best case scenario, ties with original Mortal Kombat, but probably slightly lower because we've already had a Mortal Kombat. And it's no longer to factor into that kid nostalgia. Like it's not hard, in my opinion, to come up with a easy, quick, credible premise for establishing Mortal Kombat. It doesn't need some sort of complex, so the whole concept at the beginning of this movie that there's the Mortal Kombat tournament, but these champions don't know what it is, and they're discovering I had this fucking tattoo on my body or birthmark, and it means I'm gonna go, and you got to figure out what this thing is about. We got to introduce the bad guys and stuff. You don't have to do that. You can literally just be like, these people, like Raiden shows up and says, like, we've chosen you as Earth Champion to come fight in this battle. Like you're in.
Yep.
You know, you have.
world building done.
Yeah, like there's alternate worlds. I'm a god. I fucking watch over you guys. This fucking piece of shit over here wants to take over Earth and enslave it. In which case you could just take your characters to their shitty world and be like, fuck yeah, we don't want that to happen to Earth. That would be terrible. And so they set up this premise that, like, literally the main character, who's like the descendant of fucking Scorpion, has had the birthmark for years, like his entire life. He was born with it. And the first thing that comes out of like Liu Kang's mouth when you meet him at Raiden's temple is like, I've been put in charge of collecting the champions. I'm like, where the fuck were you for the last fucking 30 years, dude? Literally, like, what's the bad guy's name? Shao Kahn.
Shao Kahn,
Is like, we've been killing Earth's champions so that there is no tournament and we'll just win automatically. And I'm like, what is Raiden doing?
Yep.
Why is Raiden not gathering these fucking champions together? I mean, that's not a violation of any sort of rules of helping the tournament.
the spirit of the game.
I mean, if Shao Kahn is
Get the fuck out of here! Like,
Shao Kahn was killing like potential candidates so they couldn't be in the tournament.
yeah,
known
yeah,
candidates. Because you're selected at birth.
That seems like
we're not always selected at birth, like right?
Well,
Like
that's fair.
at some point, some of them were probably selected at birth. But if you kill a champion, you become the new champion.
Makes sense to me. You're more powerful than the current champion.
Yeah,
So,
I thought that was
sure.
that was actually kind of a neat concept, just because
sure.
you know
They should have hammered that home with like a 67-year-old grandma got in a car accident with a champion, killed it, and showed up at tournament. You're like, oh fuck, what is going on?
Yeah, that would have been pretty hilarious.
Yeah.
The very beginning of the movie, you have I don't even know the guy. They chose as the main character some Mortal Kombat character I've never fucking heard of that turns into a werewolf.
Smith John.
I mean, I'm sure he exists. I literally can't even.
Oh, you
remember
mean like
his
in
name.
the Mortal Kombat canon?
Yeah.
if that can be said.
Well, I think there. I vaguely remember at some point in the long lifespan of Mortal Kombat, there's been a character that like is a lycanthrope.
Oh, turns into a wolf or whatever.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I know in the shitty Mortal Kombat 2, you had the Indian guy that could shapeshift because he's the one that teaches the other guy to shapeshift so that he
Was
can
that
fight.
Killer Instinct or Mortal Kombat?
It's Mortal Kombat.
It was Mortal Kombat, yeah.
Okay.
You had the Indian who had to teach him his spirit animal so
Yeah.
that he could.
Yeah.
And that's the second movie, so you get the spirit guide that shows you how to do an animality.
That's right.
Yeah.
Because they couldn't say bestiality.
Right.
Well, it was called an animality, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Okay.
Again,
You don't want that in your game.
bestiality.
You have this character that I have no idea who he is because he's not from the originals.
That's funny.
He's barely, I think, in my opinion, I'm not a huge Mortal Kombat game player, but but I'd say he's like B-list, right?
Yeah.
And within the first chunk of the movie, you're setting up some fucking bullshit relationship that this character has with his wife and his kid. Do not care. This movie is about Mortal Kombat. But you have to establish that he loves his family so that when his family's in danger,
he has something to fight
he's
for,
got something
homie.
to fight for, right?
I don't know as a viewer if you don't show me that he loves his family.
How will I know?
Right.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm going to assume he fucking hates them.
Yeah.
And he would
Default.
Families, I hate them.
Fucking hate him. And then Jax shows up, and he could literally be in the same black guy that was in the last Mortal Kombat movie. They're clearly not trying and getting anybody of good acting quality. We need a bald, jacked black man to come in and play Jax.
You'll do.
You're good enough. Come on. Okay. So he shows up and he explains the tattoo thing, the birthmark, or like he asks to see this guy's birthmark. And he's like, cool. And then apparently he's talking to Sonya Blade and they're trying to track down the champions because the fucking God won't get around to do it. Liu Kang fucking won't do it.
busy
The
doing
United
God
States
shit.
government is
They're
here to
busy.
help.
Yeah. But the disconnect for me was that he shows up later when they're getting attacked by Sub-Zero. And so he's had this one brief interaction with him at like his gym where he wanted to see his birthmark and then left. Gave like critiqued. It's like, oh, you're a shitty fighter, and left. And then he shows up in his SUV as they're getting attacked by Sub-Zero and just yells at him and his family to get in the car. And they're like, okay, get in the car. Not too unreasonable. Like, if you have a vehicle that's running, this dude's going to kill us with an ice storm. Sure, yeah, I'll take my chances with you. Let's roll out of here. But then as they leave, and he's telling them, like, what's going on? It's like, there's something weird with these tattoos. I have one. Here's mine. We got to get to some other state, I'm pretty sure. I don't know where they're at right now, where we have a base with Sonya. And they're like, okay, we're going to do that with you. And then Sub-Zero catches up to him in an alleyway. And he's like, go to this location. I'm going to take care of this guy. And he gets out of the SUV with a gun.
This is Jax?
This is Jax. Gets out of the thing with a gun. He doesn't have his robot arms. Yeah. He's just normal Jax at this point. And then they leave and go to this location. Like, that would be, how is that a rational response to the situation at all? That you're like, this guy I just met says that we got to drive to another state to meet up with another person we haven't met, and he's going to hold off the mysterious ice villain with a fucking gun?
Yep.
Okay. All right. But that's not even the end of it for me. Like, that part, super fucking weird and implausible, is that later on, they start talking about the stuff that Jax said to him, just like, oh, well, remember what Jax said about this and stuff. And they're lending like a level of credence to what he was telling them and exposing them to and stuff that was like they'd known him his whole life. Like, that's what it felt like. It's like, oh, we can trust Jax, right?
He had the birthmark, homie. Why wouldn't we be able to trust him? Duh.
Yeah. So here's the thing, though. If you want to be like, if somebody did this to me in real life, where this guy encountered me in the gym, asked to see my birthmark, and then later on, he's like, "Oh, I got the same one." I would assume
that he just copied it.
He just copied my birthmark to get me to trust him, right? Like, that's. And now, admittedly, it seems like there's some sort of supernatural shit going on with the ice storm, but like in the moment, you're going to be so panicky that you're dodging like fucking ice in the air that you probably aren't putting a whole lot together. When your rational brain catches up to you, the response isn't going to be, well, I've known Jax my entire life, and how could he not be trusted? Yeah, you know.
I think you got to put a little more trust in people, homie.
They're trying to move the plot
Not-
forward.
No, not when there's
bad storytelling.
It is. Yeah. God.
Okay.
Like, there were some fun parts, but
Yeah.
There are some fun parts. I like them kind of trying to build up a backstory between Scorpion and Sub-Zero.
yeah.
They could have focused on that a lot more. Like, if they wanted to make that a thing, that could have been like the main premise of
that has been a huge focal point of the last like 5 or 6 Mortal Kombat movies or games rather. And I think it's the best storyline they have in the entire series.
Right.
So
because otherwise it's the storyline is it's Mortal Kombat.
right, make that movie.
They're here to fight.
Make that movie.
Yeah.
Of course, they probably already have. Actually, I think they did with Mortal Kombat 10. They might have. I think they made an animated movie.
Still,
live action
make the
one.
live action one then.
Yeah.
Make at least has some sort of coherence to it.
It sounds like they've resorted to the standard Hollywood trope of we've determined a situation that needs to happen before we've written how they're going to get there. So they need to go to this place that Jax tells them about. Well, how are we going to get there? With some contrived, convoluted situation, we'll think up 5 minutes before we have to make this fucking movie, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
And really, it feels like that movie was put into the make generic B movie machine that just pops it out because it suffers from so many things we've seen continually. The big general guy for no. The one with the hammer. Shao Kahn's one of his champions is this big dude with a hammer, and I think he's like a general, like they call him General Crumb or some dumb shit. Man. I don't fucking know.
I hope so.
But like he fights Jax on this bridge, so they have this premise that like they ask Raiden like, oh, so you can teleport people anywhere you want at any time, and he's like, yeah, and so they teleport each champion with another champion to some location. And that's how you get kind of a Mortal Kombat feel, because like suddenly Jax and this big dude with a hammer appear on like this, on this like creepy bridge with skeletons and stuff like that. And I'm like, okay, well that is an easy way to explain how we're going to get into this scene that feels very reminiscent of the video game.
Yeah.
But then the fight they have is like you're watching somebody play the first Mortal Kombat game. It's so fucking garbage. Like literally when the general's getting hit, he's like, oh, and like staggering back. It's like a WWE match in the scene. And I'm like, what the fuck? How do you keep this in the final cut of the movie? It's so bad.
Josh fucking hates this.
It was entertaining. I didn't ever said it was a good movie. I said I was entertained by it.
I feel like you said it was better than the first one.
It is better than the first one.
It's not better than
Not
that.
better
It's
than the first
absolutely
one.
better than the first one.
When's the last time you watched the first one?
When I was 14,
Okay.
It's been too long.
like 20 years ago. I don't need to watch it again. Like the special effects are enough to make it better.
At the end, teasing that at a sequel they might have Luke Cage. I'm like,
Who cares?
you should have had him in the first one.
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. But like, I mean, it was murdery. It was fun. It was an okay way to spend an hour and a half.
Well, it was longer than that. That was like
How long is its run?
I'm pretty. It was long.
It's not that long.
Let's talk about this main character.
Yeah.
Who's
whatever his name is.
whatever his name is.
I didn't. I'm not
loses.
a big Mortal Kombat fan, so I didn't even recognize him right away. It's like I recognize like Cyjack or Cyrax and Goro. Everybody knows
Cabal?
Goro. Yeah. What? Cyrax? Cabal?
This Cabal, that wasn't.
Okay.
It's a different character.
Cole Young.
Okay. Cyrax is like the copy of Cabal with similar powers.
Cyrax is a robot.
Okay. I have no idea.
That's the same, like smoke and shit like that. They were like robots. Anyways, this fucking no-name character that they chose to be the lead for this, he loses like every fight. Like the only time he wins fights is typically if he gets help somehow from an external. He's a fucking shitty champion, is what it comes down to. It literally required external influences in every fight that he got into for him to like win in. Like they gave him when he unlocked his chi was literally like, you're gonna lose a fight and have the shit kicked out of you, but thankfully your super chi power
is got fucking armor.
Is that you take all those blows with your invincible armor and then you can like redirect that power at them. I'm like, wow, they literally acknowledge the fact that like you're a terrible fucking fighter and gonna get the fuck pummeled out of you, but thankfully we've made you invincible with both plot armor.
We found a way to make plot armor a diegetic thing in the story.
I mean,
generic characters acquired plot armor, and they physically give him plot armor in the movie. Oh, he was so bad. Like, what were they? Why choose him?
Yeah.
Were you?
Why choose
I don't
that
understand
power?
why you guys are like wanting a fucking Mona Lisa out of a fucking.
That's not my
That's
bar.
not what I
Was
want.
not at Mona Lisa level. Which, by the way, it's shitty painting, anyways.
Yeah.
Here's what I'm getting from Russ. The way. Let me rephrase. it's hard to watch a popcorn movie, a junk food movie, if you'll grant me that phrase, when there's so many inconsistencies and contrivances and plot holes that you can't turn your brain off and just enjoy the film. It's so pockmarked with problems that
I can just turn that off and have fun.
all the more power to you.
A lot of movies.
Right?
Yeah.
But-
Bro, okay, so it's like going to the convenience store and picking up a bag of combos, but you accidentally got the shitty pizza kind and not the delicious cheese-filled flavored ones, and it's just really kind of disappointing. It's still fine. You still eat it.
I did
and you
still
enjoy
eat
it for what it is, but it's not as good as it could have been.
And there are some good scenes. It's just like the bar is low for a Mortal Kombat movie, as it is for most video game movies. Yeah. So you don't have to try very hard to go above that. So seeing somebody take the time and effort to make a movie that fails to even hit that bar is a disappointment to me. I don't expect it to be an ageless blockbuster by any means. I just want you to hit that bar. And
maybe my bar was lower than your guys's. It was, like I said, for an hour and a half of murdery good time. It was fine.
It's even more disappointing when they have cool stuff in the movie and the rest of the movie around it ends up being bad, because it's like clearly there was some good juice here.
Yeah.
But yeah.
And squeeze it all out, but maybe they will in the second movie.
I mean, are they making a second one?
They will. They made a second one of that first piece of crap. Why wouldn't they?
It was easier to make money off of movies back then.
Yeah, that's true.
It was, yeah.
So you'd always just recoup it on the VHS sales.
I wouldn't be surprised to see another one. I don't know how how it performed. So
That's what.
Does anybody besides Andrew have their Dune ticket yet? I still haven't gotten one.
We talked about it over the weekend and we zoned out and forgot.
Well, the Discord chat has been, so we have 6 tickets available.
Okay.
Yeah.
From who? What?
That's been all that's talked about in the Discord for the last couple of days. I went and bought 3 tickets because there were only 7 seats left and they were all garbage. So I got the best ones available. Colin got excess tickets. So
Colin already mentioned he had 1 extra ticket at this
he now
point.
has 2. So
I can't go with the Colin and then they're watching it at like 6 or something.
I got the same showtime.
Okay, well, I can go with one of you guys.
But yeah, we'll figure that out during the break or something.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, Dune. Chat was talking about the new Dune movie. So
well, yeah, and it comes out tomorrow. Yep. I actually had Dune written down just as a reminder that it's coming out tomorrow, but also fucking Fortnite got some fucking Dune shit.
Yeah, Fortnite got some Dune shit,
man.
yo.
That game,
the heir of House Atreides,
taken over the world, and it's bizarre because it's a game we don't play.
I mean, I did.
I tried playing it, but I was not good enough to find enjoyment. I was like, why the fuck am I building something all of a sudden? What the fuck is happening to me?
You got Thanos, Wolverine, the dude in the banana costume, and a guy in a still suit, like lined up in Fortnite.
It's a reasonably fun battle royale. It's fun for what it is.
It is very good at what it does.
It is very good at what it does.
My biggest disappointment,
gambling addiction in children.
It has
only
so
as
many
much as any
great
other game.
IPs, and yet I don't want to play that game. That's what sucks about it to me, is that I want a game like Apex to be able to put cool fucking characters into my game.
Yeah. Just didn't, get the traction.
Fortnite's overarching genre, the world building they've built, is that they can put anything into it. And because of their kind of art direction and the way they make the game, it all gels. You can have Wolverine and fucking Paul of Atreides in the same game because it's just kind of how it works. In a game like Apex, you have a given theme, right, and a given setting. So to have something like Thanos show up in Apex would seem very weird.
But see, okay, I had solved this back when the first season of Apex came out. Because, and I talked about it and stuff, because I was disappointed seeing already what Fortnite was doing. All Apex had to do was abandon this like very, very minorly interesting storyline that they try to tell with the game through their like, extra videos and shit like that, and just made the premise like every character that is like, instead of having, because it doesn't make sense in a game where these champions that have a storyline are dumped into the battle royale and fight each other over and over again, and yet are like reborn and reconstituted. Right? They've never addressed that as far as I know. Maybe in a comic.
which
I have
game?
no idea. In Apex.
Okay.
That you'd figure that at the end of the first battle royale, there'd only be one of them left alive.
I figured it was a sim just like in Titanfall.
They've never, as far as I know, like I said, this could
they haven't
exist
said that,
in like a comic book. I don't know.
What's
They've
the deal
never
with the whole
established
robot
that.
after you die sucking your like digital form up? You die, you
What?
get that robot. It's got like the thing over you. Am I thinking of a different game?
Yeah, I don't know. What
You're
talking
thinking of
about. That's not-
Fortnite.
Oh,
Yeah.
That is not an Apex. But so in
Right.
Apex, they could have just made it this premise that there's this competition and everyone is loading into their virtual sims to go fight
Yeah.
this battle. In which case, then you open it up to, not only do you open it up to a bunch of IPs that you could have put into the game, but you could have had like world champions and stuff been able to like have their character modeled into like the game modes where you could select them. And
the
stuff
world
like
of Apex is already defined. It's set in the Titanfall universe, so they would have had to from the start not make this a Titanfall game.
Not at all, because in the Titanfall universe, you have the Apex Predator games that exist in the storyline, but instead of having a physical, real champions that are placed into this arena, they're instead loading themselves into the sim, like you're talking
Yeah.
about.
Okay, and you're talking about putting in like IP characters from other franchises into Apex?
Yeah, because it would literally just be like how you model
dude,
your
That
sim.
probably just comes down to money. They're not going to pay.
Why the fuck
Disney
can't
and
I kill
whatnot.
Batman?
Yeah, I want to kill Batman.
Do it in Fortnite.
I dream about
You know?
it every night.
Well, I mean, just play the fucking Batman games, jump off buildings.
Yeah, there you go.
He doesn't die though.
Why doesn't my ward love me?
So let's see: Mortal Kombat, Cowboy Bebop, Apex.
Apex Season 11 does come out very soon. I think it's like a week or two.
I know it's fucking crazy to think that
haven't played Apex.
season 11 is coming out when I think the last time we played was season 1.
I mean, it's every 3 months, I think. 3-month cycle, they have a new season.
Yeah, it doesn't feel like it was that long ago.
Octane had just come out when I quit.
Yeah.
There's been a
been a
few
while.
since then.
Yeah,
Yeah.
been a while.
Octane was I think
The Junkrat
The elec-
clone copy looking dude, right?
yeah. I think
they both don't have legs.
Wendy the
Talking about
electric
Horizon? No,
No, the electricity lady. She was just about to
Watson?
come out.
Watson,
Yeah. Yeah, she was about to come out.
Is
When
her sidekick Jules?
No.
It's Dave.
It's Nessie, the little stuffed Loch Ness monster.
It's
Why?
Nussy.
Nessie.
It's Nussy now.
Yeah, it's Nussy now.
Sorry.
There's a new character. It's Ash. Ash is one of the
From
Burn
Overwatch?
victims?
No, from Titanfall. She's one of the Titan pilots.
Oh yeah, wasn't she like her dad was a big pilot? I watched the like animated kind of intro trailer for her story. Her dad
I didn't watch all the animated one.
Okay.
Not yet. But I don't know her backstory, but I know that I'm pretty sure she's in Titanfall 2.
Okay.
Because she's part
Boy,
of the band.
wait till you get a Titan in Apex. That's where it's going to be.
I mean, also, why not? Why don't we have a mode with Titans?
Yeah, honestly, like instead of making another Titanfall or focusing on Titanfall 2's multiplayer, why not put a game mode where there's Titans?
You take to the Titans, you get rid of the whole pilot concept, which is fun, but hear me out. You get rid of the pilots, it's just Titans, but then you give all of them Pathfinder style grappling hooks and you put them in a giant map where you can have the feel of running around this giant fucking mech with all these different abilities, but also grappling and Spider-Manning around the map.
Or you just give the current characters
Immediately.
current list of characters their own unique Titan.
The physics part of my brain just
also
went
cool.
full Asperger moment as I tried to picture a grappling hook strong enough to fucking
To pull a Titan.
whip a Titan around.
Space cables, man.
Yeah, it's pretty much Golden Gate Bridge cable.
Yeah,
Here we go.
It just kind of pulls you along the ground.
Nanocarbon tubes, but a lot of them.
Yeah. I really have to use the restroom.
Good time. We're about ready for a break.
Perfect.
time.
No,
break
Yeah.
do your kegels and fucking hold it.
Hold it like a man.
I mean, I can. I am an adult.
Good.
Do I need to?
No.
Okay.
We can go to break.
All right, let's go to break.
All right, guys, we're going to break. We'll be right back.
I just wanted to aggressively tell you to hold it.
I just wanted to be aggressive.
You can aggressively hold it.
Be
if you
aggressive.
want.
Be aggressive.
You want to come aggressively hold it for me?
Yeah. I'm going to fucking strangle hold it. Yank
no.
it right off of you.
So, Metroid Dread, he's recently come out.
Yes.
For any of you not familiar with Metroid, it is a hallmark of video game genres, kind of defined what we now call the Metroidvania, the idea of a kind of action-adventure game where you explore around and certain areas are off limits until you get certain power-ups or abilities that allow you to explore them. I think would be an easy way to kind of define that. And we haven't really had a solid standard Metroid game in a long time. I didn't look it up, but it's been a while.
Because the 3D ones don't count, right? They're from a different developer?
I think we talked about it. If I remember right, at least the first Metroid Prime, I believe, was made by Team Ninja, the people who made Ninja Gaiden. I don't know if they made all of them. And then there was a recent other Metroid game that I think Nintendo made. Anyways, side note, it's Return to the classic standard side-scrolling Metroid, exploring an alien world, dealing with all this. My brother played it. I watched him play a bit of it. He really enjoyed it. He had a couple little issues that were not nearly enough to override how much he enjoyed it. So overall, great recommendations from him. And he hadn't really played a standard Metroid game in a while. I grew up playing them.
And say, Metroid's a little before your brother's time, isn't it?
Yeah, because it was
Metroid,
mostly 90s and 80s.
Yeah.
It was, I mean, to be honest, my first horror game, Metroid 2 especially, could be defined as such, arguably. That said, something interesting happened, and it happened kind of along the same time. I've been playing a lot of traditional roguelikes, and I mean that in the sense of like copies of Rogue, the original roguelike. I've been playing Dungeon Crawl, Stone Soup, and ADOM. I don't imagine any of you played them, but they're standard kind of dungeon crawlers. But David Jaffe, I'm pretty sure that's how his name is said, I looked it up, is one of the lead designers on the lesser-known Twisted Metal, but more importantly, the most recent God of War. And he was playing the game live on stream, and he got to an area where he wasn't sure how to progress, and he was beating his head about trying to find where to go next, and one of his viewers had to lead him back to where he'd already been to shoot a ceiling that opened up to the area he needed to go to. And emotions aside, he got frustrated about it, saying in some colorful words, that's a mouthful, that it was bad game design. He, in my opinion, is right and wrong. One problem you have with the original Metroids is that they're old, and game design practices back then in the 90s were much different than they are today. We've learned a lot. And having gone back through in the last year and recently played a lot of older games, I can tell you there's some certain quality of life things that I really miss when you're playing older games. Metroid has been known for having a lot of secret areas, and those areas are not obvious. And having seen him have this issue, which I'm about to talk about, I remember back to being a kid and knowing that when you would run through a new area, I would constantly be shooting the ceiling or shooting the walls if you weren't doing something else, just in the off chance you open up an area. Whether that's good design or not, we can get to that in a minute. But the issue is that he wasn't using one of the game's core features, which is that one of the sticks in the Nintendo Switch allows you to have full 360 aim for your gun. In traditional Metroid games, it was the 8-directional capacity, or even just left, right, up, and down. And he was jumping and shooting horizontally to hit these enemies. And this particular level design, can't show the picture necessarily on stream because we don't have it pulled up. But there's these enemies here and some enemies above, and you would naturally, if you were using that aiming feature, be trying to hit these enemies, and one of your bullets might stray and hit this area here. Mm-hmm. Besides that, the level design does kind of lead you to think that this might be a thing. And knowing that the tutorial tells you if you're ever stuck, try checking for secret areas by shooting walls. I feel like the game did its due diligence in explaining that there are going to be areas that you're going to have to find by rote practice. Right? Sure. Is that good game design or not?
That's game's design.
It's this game's design. Yeah. And by not playing the game the way the developers intended, he encountered this frustrating issue. And it's important to know, I've been there a million times. I don't necessarily play games the way the developers want me to, and I have encountered a lot of problems that were my own fault for having taken a weird tack in a given playthrough of a game. I understand his frustration, and I understand a lot of his arguments about this being archaic game design. But it is also kind of his fault. Had he been playing the way the game been designed, he probably wouldn't have encountered this issue. And that on top of some of the issues Adam had with the game, with certain puzzles being pixel perfect jumps and timing like that. Again, that's a bit of archaic design. This idea that you can practice so much, but some of it comes down to randomness, and it's optimizing on that is important. That's a certain play style, right?
Well, some people's archaic design is other people's nostalgia and fan service.
Exactly.
And just like their old bread and butter.
Yeah. When I was, go ahead, Josh.
I was going to say that, and that's what this game very much feels like, is a good deal of fan service. This it feels like this is a Metroid game that, man, I want to go back and play because it makes me feel like it looks like Super Metroid, that I like a more advanced version of that, right?
It's like how you remember it looking.
Exactly. It's how I remember Metroid.
Looks great.
Yeah.
Having played Dungeon Crawl, Stone Soup, and ADOM, those games being roguelikes heavily depend on randomness, and you have a given build. And part of the draw is that you have to do your best to optimize what the game gives you randomly to try to succeed in a run. And the majority of your runs fail. And we know that that's a core tenet of roguelikes like Noita and all the other clones that have come out a while. And if you like that, you like it. If you don't, you don't. I think that there's a time and a place for these. I don't think this game should be criticized for it, again, because this is an attempt to make a classic Metroid-style game. But I don't think he's wrong. I think that it's important to note that some things that are, like he says, golden calves, things we see with rose-tinted glasses, they're not good game design. And when you're making a game like Nintendo does for a wide audience, they have to, try to appeal to the least common denominator. So it was kind of up in the air for me about how to feel in this given instance.
Yeah.
When you get these remakes of older games, how much of the old games do you want to come through? Because you want the game to do well. And as far as I've seen, Nintendo doesn't really release their sales, but as far as I remember reading, it's sold better than any Metroid game in Japan, period, which is great. It shows that there's an audience for it. Yeah. And makes me hope that if this does well, maybe they'll bring back FZero. Yeah.
You and I talked about FZero for like a solid half hour the other day about how it could go forward. But like you said, Nintendo makes a game for a wide audience. I do not feel like this game is for a wide audience. I feel that this game is
Nintendo do that
for a specific audience. This isn't fucking Mario Golf, right? Like, not everybody's gonna fucking jump in and play this and enjoy it. Like I said, for me, it picks at my member berries pretty hard. So I think it looks good.
I would like to distance myself from any creation that is done for a specific audience. Be it video games, be it movies. I feel like most times that leads to a mediocre product when it's clear that you were trying to make something for as broad an audience as possible. You make a thing that you like and you're happy with, and you either have an audience that enjoys it or you do not.
So you're for specific audiences, not general audiences.
Yeah, you lost me a little bit.
Because you came in and said, I want to stay away from anything that is for a specific audience. And
it's both scenarios, like both sides of the spectrum. It's like if you're making it for a very specific audience, if you're making it for a broad audience, we need to get away from this concept of making stuff with an audience in mind.
Already. Okay.
I think you create what you set out to create.
Create the thing, create your vision, and if it's good, whatever fans you get,
it would stand on its own feet.
Okay, I see what you're. Okay, I see what you're saying.
The only audience that matters is yourself, right? The creator's self.
Now, if you're a AAA title,
you got to make money.
You do have to make money.
It's always going to come down to money. That's why we get movies that are designed to appeal to the widest range as possible. But you also get mediocre movies from that most of the time.
Mm-hmm. Okay,
now. I'd say that does tie in with the fact that if your product then becomes a large hit in the community, it does behoove you to start listening to what your community is saying about your game.
Yeah, I think the best advice I've heard in that regards is that your audience, when it comes to games especially, is really good at identifying problems. They are not good at solving them.
No,
so you got to keep that in mind, because you're going to get every answer from A to Z about how to solve a given problem, especially when it comes to games. Yeah, we got wires running somewhere.
I hear. wrestling.
But yeah, I'm in very strong majority, mostly agreement with you that you got to have an idea first and don't compromise it.
Okay, well, to build on what I was saying, I guess they had an idea in mind with this, and I feel like they followed that idea.
I mostly bring this all up because if you have a Switch, you have the means to play it, I recommend you try it out. So
It definitely strikes me as the kind of statement, like somebody like him who is prominent in the game development community makes that just instantly divides the community.
Yeah, for sure.
Right?
I mean, it's got to be difficult when you are a really good video game designer, especially one who's done recent titles like the newest God of War, which by almost every metric is a fantastic game.
Yeah,
it's
good.
easy to take his word as gospel.
Sure.
And I think that he's not wrong, but given the circumstance with the way he was playing the game and his apparent lack of understanding about how the game worked, he's kind of missing the forest for the trees here. So I didn't want that to sway away anybody that might have seen that or watched the Twitch feed and think, oh, this game's shit and it's bad design.
Yeah, it would have been bad design in his game.
Yeah, that's a good way of putting it.
In the games that he's made.
Isn't speaking of the mighty Kratos,
Yeah, so on the topic of God of War,
has he conquered a new medium?
he's about to.
Ooh,
So
Sony-
bringing it to pastel watercolors.
perfect.
That's the one.
Perfect.
Sony, in their infinite wisdom, has decided to release upon us another exclusive title to the PC. Personally, I'm really excited for this. I almost wish that I hadn't played God of War so I can play it for the first time on the computer.
I get to.
There you go. Perfect. Yeah, so you haven't played it. You get to play it on PC for the first time. There's going to be some things that you can't quite leverage. So not only are they porting it over, they're also optimizing and adding new tech that is kind of PC exclusive for the time being. So
13 new colors.
probably. So some new enhancements, high fidelity graphics, 4K resolution, support for ultra wide displays, unlocked frame rates, advanced settings, including high resolution shadows, improved screen space reflections, and support for GTAO and SSDO, and NVIDIA DLSS support.
Those words at the end are words.
It's essentially just a better way to deal with light and reflections, and it does a lot to help improve performance while enhancing visuals.
You're gonna
Okay.
see the reflection off Thor's pimply ass.
Yeah, absolutely, in 4K.
That's
what
I've always wanted.
I'll give credit where credit's due. I've mostly been an Xbox gamer, and so jumping over to the PlayStation 4 to play God of War, it fucking looked amazing.
It's a gorgeous game.
Like I definitely need to see this running on a high end PC for me to really see like how they're gonna improve on this.
Yeah.
Because they did a phenomenal job of having that look fantastic on a console.
Absolutely.
So you're saying even if it was just a direct port,
Yeah, even
it's great then.
100%.
Okay,
for sure.
That's probably about the experience that you'll get. So it's still gonna be gorgeous.
I'm so excited because I've watched. I don't watch a lot of people play video games because I'm old and I'm just gonna play video games.
I'm old. I watch people play video.
I don't watch people play video games. I'm just gonna I'll watch.
You need to
for a
spend
few
more time on
minutes.
Twitch, man.
Yeah. I'm just gonna. Yeah. But I have watched people play God of War because it just looks so goddamn good and it was so entertaining that I found myself getting caught up watching it,
Yeah.
and I'm so excited to play this. I was very excited to read this news today.
It's very exciting news.
Is it going to run on his computer?
God, I hope so.
I would assume it will run fine.
Okay.
Yes.
God's
Yay.
gonna help you, boy.
I hope so. Please, Kratos, take pity upon me.
No. I have. So this is like for me. I have the new season of Apex dropping like in like a week or two. I have the next league for Path of Exile comes out in a couple days. I think Friday it opens up. And then we're also playing New World right now, and I'm like,
Yeah.
fuck, man, sacrifices are gonna be made.
I think I might be better at Apex now, because my Splitgate game has gone up fucking dramatically.
Yeah, you're almost at you went from, I've been watching a 0.8 KDA to you're almost a 1 now.
Yeah,
which
I'm
is
above 1.
you're
I'm at
above
1.
1.
I'm at 1.1 now.
Yeah.
So all of a sudden, dude, I'm getting I think it's a bad game if I don't get 20 kills a game now.
Yeah.
Like
Good for you.
It's a bad game.
I've been playing with it. It's doing good.
Yeah, dude. Sometimes I just fucking whip it out, and I'm like, yeah.
So what you're saying is that you're done playing in the kiddie pool and you want to fucking take
I
it to the
think
Thunderdome?
I think I might be better at Apex than I used to be, because I can see shit happening. I can fucking see it happening. I can react to it.
Yep.
So the biggest difference that I can say in the play styles between Splitgate and Apex, on a very like core mechanics level, is that gun recoil is a huge aspect of playing Apex. It's not in Splitgate. Almost most of your game types are fast kills or even instant kills.
Time to kill in Splitgate is near instant.
Yeah.
In most
So
cases.
I think that these skills will do you a service going back into any other shooter. But it's just a different. Like, I jumped into Splitgate not having played a fast shooter again, and I still like was holding my own pretty proficiently. I don't know. I feel it's I don't think I'm any better. It's just that with what my skills I have, like, and the hardware I would absolutely say that you're better.
It's
previously to this, you were playing Overwatch.
Yeah,
and Overwatch doesn't play like either of these two games. At the very least, both Apex and Splitgate are going to have like more of a twitch element and fast reflexes. Wherein, I mean, Overwatch most like. You're also a healer.
Yeah,
a lot of
Mercy,
the time.
she's my girl. And if I do play DPS, it's Junkrat. No aim, no shame. Junkrat aim.
Yeah, I mean, half the characters in that game don't require you to have any sort of quick reflexes or flick shots or anything like that. So you've now had time under your belt playing a shooter again, which probably hasn't happened in
it's been a minute.
A long time.
It's been a minute.
I think I would like to see you eventually try the mouse and keyboard.
Yeah, I'm
still
still
controller.
still on the controller.
No grudge or anything. There are games/programs specifically designed to help you get better at mouse and keyboard aiming, aim trainer and whatnot. And it's like learning a new way. It's like going to cursive from standard writing. It's really confusing at first, but once you get better at the mouse and keyboard, you're going to break through whatever glass ceilings you have with the controller. Like, you're going to improve over time. It might take a while, and if you don't like it, you don't like it. That's fine. But
so, as somebody that's been jumping back into trying more computer games, more mouse and keyboard games, I've tried on a couple occasions now to switch over to mouse and keyboard while playing Splitgate. Specifically because I know the advantages of being able to have such rotational control over your character. I don't have nearly as much of a difficulty running the mouse as I do the keyboard commands. So anything that's beyond just WASD moving, which is, portals and Splitgate for the most part, is where I think I struggle the most, like changing weapons, reloading, anything that's ancillary to just moving and looking. Not looking, because looking is the mouse. On the mouse side of things, I feel very comfortable using it as well. But it takes time of playing around with my settings that I have on the game to find something that feels correct. And trying to do that like on the fly while we're jumping into Splitgate games is not conducive to each other.
Yeah, that's fair. I was just thinking about, as you were talking, like, how many fingers on a controller do you have that are dedicated to that given button? And it pretty much comes down to, if you're playing full, not claw, but middle and index finger on the bumpers, that's 4. And then if you got your thumbs for the stick, and your right thumb also has to deviate to the face buttons. So on the keyboard, WASD, you've got 3 fingers there. Q, E, Z, and C, and F and R are right there. But you're still having to move off the key. Half the time, like,
Thanks, Goose.
Q and E are my portal cancels. I don't even have to remove my finger from like W or A or D. I can just literally, as I'm applying pressure to the key, rotate my finger if I need to like quickly cancel a portal. But yeah, it really comes down to not only rotational speed, but time to accuracy. The mouse allowing for, when I'm going to try to aim, especially at a farther distance, I am applying heavy pressure with my thumb and my pinky and ring finger on the mouse, and literally the tension of the last digit of my fingers is my aiming, as opposed to using my wrist or even more like my
Right, so
arm.
you'd be playing like a super high sensitivity.
And I can play high sensitivity, and then if I need to quickly turn around, I have my wrist there to do that. And again, we've talked at length about keyboard and mouse versus controller, your ability to turn. And one thing that they're getting really good at adding good aim assist to the controller.
Yeah.
It's not a perfect technology because you're trying to map it to a whole different medium, but it is comparable. It is difficult for me to notice at times when I'm playing versus controllers than I am KBA, because I'm seeing every once in a while I do see somebody turn and it takes like a quarter of a second, and that's way too fucking slow in Splitgate. They're dead before they can even turn around.
It's my biggest death when I'm playing Splitgate is my inability to turn quickly, which is why I oftentimes try to switch back over to mouse and keyboard, because you play games like SWAT where it's a one-shot kill to the head.
Yep.
You need that rotational speed and that flick shot ability, and that is without being able to play hopped up on ADHD medications on a controller set to max sensitivity. I don't have that kind of fucking micro dexterity out of my thumb, so I gotta try to. I'm gonna keep practicing the mouse and keyboard myself to try to get up there.
What do you guys think about competitive players moving back to the controller?
It tells me that the aim assist is good enough that that's an option.
I'm wondering if it's too good though.
It might be.
A lot of the Warzone competitive players are going back to the controller because the aim assist is just like a fucking latch on somebody that doesn't give up.
Yeah.
So if
you
you're
see it dragging the cursor around
I mean,
the
you can let
screen
go
as
of your
in-
controller, and they've showed it where even pretty dramatic movements, the reticle will stay on a player.
Okay.
So you can call it an improvement. It's an improvement to aim assist effectively, but whether that's a good thing or not, I don't know.
Now, Warzone, that is
Call of Duty.
Call of Duty's
Yeah.
Battle Royale.
Yeah.
Ghost Recon's launching a Battle Royale.
Yeah.
It looks like they pretty much just
Everybody
took
do it.
the survival mode from what is that game that was going to be revolutionary?
Blinko.
Wildlands, or not Wildlands? The last Ghost Recon.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And pretty much
Wildlands?
just souped that up a little bit, and then added some stuff from the Divide, the
Division.
The Division, yes, and added like some shit from the Division survival mode. It seems like, but I don't know, dude. Everybody's making a battle royale these days.
They want
Battle
their
Royale
money.
is it's a fun fucking game type.
It is.
Yeah, no, I mean, agree. I agree.
It's the hot GNU.
I mean, I would probably enjoy the shit out of Warzone if it wasn't plagued with both super cheaters and it's a Call of Duty game. So
It's
Yeah.
a Call of Duty game. Yes.
Yep.
And apparently, Battlefield 2042 had its open beta this last week. It's really close to release. So the beta
almost there.
It's almost there. So the beta is essentially going to be what you're going to be getting on release. And it's a big old steamer. It sounds
Is that what
like.
you're getting?
So it was.
and it'll make $400 billion.
Yeah, it was. Apparently, it was unplayable, absolutely unplayable on last gen systems, and if you don't have like high end, top end stuff in your PC, it's nigh unplayable.
The worst part about that is, so I am not opposed to putting older hardware in the dust when there's
Yeah,
new
for
hardware, and especially stuff that works on still.
It was overclocking 3900s, so it's like
it
it
required a 3090.
Yeah, like it was like it was overclocking, like
Not overclocked.
like,
Not overclocking.
or whatever. It's making it bad.
Yeah.
It's doing bad.
That's poor optimization,
yes.
which is plaguing games.
Yeah.
I mean, it's such a fucking issue because some of these games they come out, they don't
sad.
look any better than any other game, and they're experiencing these kinds of performance issues on modern fucking hardware.
Right, so there's the whole performance aspect of it, but then there's all of the also people were just upset from everything from the ping system to the one map layout that they released.
It's also a fucking future game.
Yeah.
Which they should have realized from Call of Duty's future warfare. That was a bad idea.
Well, the only other option is making us fight World War II again.
Which is what I think Call of Duty is doing.
Yeah, I don't know.
So, whatever. I mean, they're all the same fucking game. You're changing the setting.
Yeah, no, like, dude, it's the same game since like the Nintendo 64 one. Like,
well, no,
you know.
no, it's the same. It's the same game since like the more recent modern warfares.
Where's our Civil War FPS game?
Dude, I'd play the shit out of that.
Tried making those.
Oh my god, I'd love to be in a line of people and just try my luck with against fucking cannonballs.
I've played it,
and your minute and a half reload times.
Well, yeah,
it's surprisingly fun.
I can imagine it is. I mean, we played Black Wake, the pirate game, and it takes like a fucking 30 seconds to fire off a shot from your cannon, but that game was fucking awesome.
It was awesome.
Yeah, that game
You'd
was
have a
incredible.
captain calling things out.
What's the goofy medieval game where they play like big battles against
Knights of Camelot.
Mordhau?
There's Mordhau. I mean, what do you mean by goofy? Because it was mildly realistic.
Well, I mean, I think it is realistic. It's just the videos I watch is usually
goofy. Yeah,
third person over the shoulder.
Yeah,
Mordhau.
Okay.
But part of the performance issue, though, I think for the game was that they have the big battle with 128 players.
Hey, we've heard that before.
Yeah, I mean, well,
They're already
1942.
talking. Yeah, they're already talking about like cutting it back to half with 64 for the big battle. But like,
I think Battlefield had that big of gameplay.
Yeah, like,
1942 was known to have. I think it was 64.
I thought the World War I game had a big battle mode, but it was like 50 people.
So the last Battlefield that I played had a large map style, but I don't think it was anywhere near 128.
Yeah, like
that was Battlefield 1.
That seems fucking
enormous. The last games I remember talking about 128 was like PlanetSide was one that was supposed to.
More than that, you might be thinking of Gun.
Gun was one. I remember that,
which was a failure.
But yeah, it's like every time that they've tried to go that high, it's never worked.
Battlefield 4 had 64 players, 32 versus 32. I mean, they've always kind of
1942 had 64 to 128.
Yeah.
Wow. But 1942 is like
it's old.
That's like an OG.
I used to go down to Cyber Center and play that at the fucking internet cafe.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's I as we get better and better graphics in
internet
games,
cafe,
like
what the fuck?
Less and less likely that we're going to see games of that size until we get some revolutionary fucking network tech and obviously as hardware tech for home.
As a silicon chip turned into a human, explain to me why large player counts per map used to be so much more prevalent 20, 30 years ago than they are now.
Mostly to do with physics. So those games didn't even have ragdoll for the most part. You just plop dead.
It's just the amount of information having to send is less.
Yep.
Okay.
It's sending like immensely less information. So let's just talk about a ragdoll. Okay. So when you ragdoll a player, it takes tremendous amounts of like literally thousands to millions of calculations to animate that. Right.
Isn't that all client side though?
No, because if it were only client side,
you would never see them ragdoll.
Well, you could potentially see them ragdoll, but everybody would see them ragdoll differently.
Oh, gotcha.
Right.
Gotcha.
Which especially in competitive shooters could actually change how the game runs. I mean, if they ragdoll differently on somebody else's screen, they might obstruct view for somebody. Yeah. Right.
Or even just any animation a given model is going to do. You have all the occlusion and shadows and reflection and whatnot.
Now, a lot of that is done client side, but the information still has to be there as far as player positioning and that kind of thing. So a lot of it has to do with player positioning. A lot of it has to do with keeping count. So as far like everybody's got to be synced on how much damage people have taken, how many bullets are being fired, the damage they do, the calculations as far as damage done over distance, over time, stuff like that.
Those things in particular, though, that's always been the case.
Yeah,
like you need to keep track of that, like all the way back to Doom and Quake.
Right.
But
we've just complicated it further by adding systems.
Yeah, all the graphics requirement and information that has to be sent over. Good to know.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, we'll see. 2042. I mean, it's another Battlefield. It's just a different flavor of ice cream from Call of Duty. You know.
Did you know they're making a John Wick prequel series?
Yeah. I just read that.
John Candle?
It's called The Continental, and it deals with
the
characters
hotel?
that are not John Wick, I'm pretty certain.
Yeah.
See, I would be okay. I'm okay with that.
I am
Yeah.
1,000% okay
I
with
want to
this.
explore that universe.
The universe was, man.
Yeah, that was the most interesting thing about John Wick 2 was getting to see that stuff.
All the John Wicks for me really is like, I really love that peek into this secret world.
Yeah.
That's pretty dope.
Yeah.
Is it live action?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. I mean, what would it be otherwise animated, like a anime or something?
Puppet show?
That'd be kind of cool,
Could
to
be
be
a puppet
honest.
Popsicle sticks and
Yeah.
yeah, no, it's I think I don't remember. Is that going to be on Netflix?
I think it was on Netflix.
I don't know.
If
It
I
could,
remember
like, dude,
correctly.
they could do animated. Like, I mean, they went animated.
Oh, I mean,
with
they
The
absolutely
Witcher.
could. I was
100%.
just giving Nick shit because I feel like
I started thinking about it. It's like, man, I'd actually be.
John Wick's in Fortnite. The
Yeah,
question is
yeah.
legitimate. Like, what medium
Now-
is it
Yeah.
in? So
John,
fair enough.
Isn't John Wick anime just Spike Spiegel?
No, because Spike Spiegel's dog didn't die.
Spike
Oh, that's-
Spiegel does
that's fair.
substantial more martial arts. and
Yeah.
less
That's fair. Yeah, less
But-
gun fu, more
Less-
kung fu.
gun. Yes, sir.
Yeah.
But I mean, kinda. Like kinda. That's
No,
that feel.
absolutely.
That's that feel, you know?
Yeah.
But I
But
mean, then you get into the stereotype / trope / standard model of hero who's really good,
Yes.
right?
Yeah.
You know, it's like, yeah, they've got both that. I'm really good at fighting, you know, that applies to a lot of
now
people.
this might be controversial, but I say Iron is a cooler dog than John Wick's dog.
Absolutely.
We didn't get to see. John Wick dog might have known algebra.
John Wick's got a new dog.
He got a new dog.
Oh, I thought you meant the one that died.
Both.
But then they ruined the third movie by putting Halle Berry and 2 dogs into it.
Yeah.
There's a third John Wick?
Yeah.
Oh.
Oh yeah.
There's like there's a fourth one.
There's
They're
going
making
to be
on
a
the
fourth.
one. Yeah.
I've been inside since COVID started.
I believe
third
it
one.
releases the same day as Matrix 4 does, actually.
Interesting.
Oh, yeah, Matrix 4.
Yep.
Interesting.
It's weird how they skipped 2 and just went
Right, I know,
Just
they just-
Matrix and Matrix 4. It's kind of like the Xbox.
They're
Yeah.
being edgy.
Yeah.
Yep.
100%.
I was also surprised to hear another title was not for movies or anything like that, but Sea of Thieves has 25 million players.
I believe
Yeah.
it.
Like they hit like a new high for that.
That's
and-
pretty impressive.
Well, it's because it's on Game Pass.
So it's been on Game Pass since the game came out.
Yeah.
But I'm wondering if it's because they have been trying to dump as much content into that game as possible.
Yeah, and they've been pimping it out on Twitch.
My brother played it recently, up until a couple weeks ago. He played it for about a solid month with his friends. I think they've added enough content that there's some meat there.
Oh,
to
dude.
the sandwich.
The last content update I saw being advertised was that they're going to be putting a bunch of fucking Pirates of the Caribbean shit into it.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Like literally the characters from Pirates of the Caribbean.
I mean,
I
that's
wonder if
pretty
that's
popular
what.
shit.
Could be.
what drove-
He was talking about some events that I don't remember there being a bunch of like skeleton ships coming out of storms, and then
Oh, yeah,
of
no,
course
those-
the Krakens.
Those exist and they're
Fucking-
fun
but there
as
was
fuck.
multiple
Skull
different
ships selling out of my
non-
Sargasso.
PvP things, which of course end up being PvP. But you have these events that happen that are not necessarily other players doing things.
Yeah.
It provides a framework.
No, I think with a crew, that game is a lot of fun.
Yeah, and he's playing it with his friends.
Yeah.
He's actually talking in chat. The Pirates of the Caribbean has been in for a while, but they added a bunch of underwater stuff right
Interesting.
before they stopped playing.
Interesting.
So-
Yeah, I didn't play for the underwater stuff, but I only picked it up for a few nights. So I didn't do a whole lot, but the couple nights that I played it, I had a fucking blast.
It was a weird timing for us because we had just come off of playing Black Wake, which was this super indie version of Sea of Thieves that
Yeah.
was slightly more realistic.
way more realistic.
Way more realistic.
Yeah.
And then when Sea of Thieves in that state, when we went to check it out, it had very little actual content.
Yeah.
That's
So-
what killed it for me. Like
Yeah.
is that
For sure.
I jumped into that game. You fought like one enemy type that either had a sword or a gun, and then they wanted you to go do the same fetch quest over and over again to build rep with the faction so that you could change the color of your ship's sails.
It was
And
basically New
that
World.
It was
At that
pretty
point.
new. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
But I mean, pirate stuff's it's a evergreen content. Like
Yeah.
it's never going to not be boring. And Black Wake wasn't perfect. Don't get me wrong, but they did a really good job of you needed a person to man every cannon.
Yep.
People for repairing. You had a captain who didn't have any kind of reticles as far as aiming. You had to pay attention to the wind on your sails, and you're calling out all these orders, and you hope your teammates are following, because if you don't, you're not going to get off that volley. And
and that's also true of Sea of Thieves for a lot of.
Yeah, it seems like they have a lot of that in there too. It's a little bit more. Not cartoony, but yeah,
it's more cartoony.
But it's still there.
Yeah, it's not. It's just as important of a mechanic, but it is. Yeah, it's definitely toned down. The amount of work that you put into fixing your hull and that kind of thing is less in Sea of Thieves. And Josh, did you just laugh at fixing your hull?
What?
Yeah.
Chat's using some coarse words. Or was he talking about you?
What?
What? I'm lost.
No, I said there's you have to do things like fixing your holes, and Josh giggled.
So. I know that there was some Starfield info that came out recently. You guys been following that at all?
No,
Other than the game is supposed to come out at the end of next year. That's all I know. It's the next Bethesda game.
Yeah.
People make Fallout. And,
there was some recent news on it, and the news is that it's still happening.
I think they were talking about how there's factions in the game. I actually didn't look into it. I was just curious.
As far as Bethesda titles, I could give fewer fucks.
They
you
hurt
never
me
got
so often.
really bit by the Bethesda games.
Yeah.
Did you?
They're not that fun for me.
I feel like anybody that tried to paid for Fallout 76 got hurt by Bethesda.
Yeah.
They didn't hurt me then. They already hurt me enough with Fallout 4, I knew.
Right.
Fallout 4 was a blast. What are you talking about?
It was not
fun,
nearly
but
as
it's
good
not
as New Vegas.
Exactly.
Yeah, but New Vegas is the best Fallout.
I know, dude. I'd
say Fallout 4 is a close second.
Yeah,
no, 3 was
I know.
better
I
than
was
4.
just I really.
What? Yeah.
I don't know, dude.
disagree.
I had really. It's not a bad game. I enjoy playing it. I still play it, but
Fallout 3 for me was not as fun as Fallout 4.
That's fair.
I don't know. It's just
I'm also a sucker for legendary weapons. So.
I like the legendary weapons. That's pretty dope. I think the base building aspect's pretty cool, but I don't know. I called the story pretty early on in the game for me. It's like, my kid was probably taken 80 years ago. He's probably some fucking old man. And then,
yeah, I mean, fuck.
I don't know. It was all right. I still had fun playing it. Still plenty of fun playing it.
Man.
But I just.
If you're playing Fallout for the main storyline, you're playing Fallout wrong.
That's why I don't play the Fallout games.
Not for the main storyline, but
I've tried all of them and quit within I would say 5 hours.
I don't know. There's just
you're
no
allergic to open world games.
There's no fucking consequences.
That's not even necessarily true.
It's 100% true. I've seen you go
I just
to
don't like
anaphylactic
most.
shock over trying to play an open world game. You tried to play Zelda, I had to go in there with an EpiPen.
Listen, dude, my throat is closing right now. Let's
Fucking
be careful.
open world bees.
Let's be careful. No, it's true. Yeah, I mean, honestly, Breath of the Wild, great game, but I just lost interest in it because it was open world, and I stopped caring about the world that I was traveling in. Like, oh, cool, I'll explore all this stuff. And I did, and I saw, and then there was nothing new except for
I dropped my
some
mic,
narrative.
but it's attached to this stand.
I think the problem is that you played Zelda 64 and Majora's Mask for roughly 97 years.
True.
And you've ran out of open world juice. That
It's
well is
possibility.
dry.
I wouldn't even, man, those, so as far as an open world goes, you can explore the entire thing in 17 minutes.
Ocarina of
So,
Time's an
you
open
know.
world game.
Definitely.
Yeah, it is,
Yeah.
for sure. I'm not saying that it's not. I'm
Yeah.
just saying that the scope of the whole thing is just so small.
So you want
that it's
open world
barely-
games that are just like small worlds.
No, I just don't want open world games for the most part.
How about an open 7-Eleven game? You can go anywhere in the 7-Eleven.
I mean, I just saw that they're making an electrician game
Oh, that'll be shockingly fun.
like those.
Like a simulator?
yeah, electrician.
Those are always
Standard.
neat.
Get him out.
So the next one will be 7-Eleven Simulator, and I'm surprised that doesn't exist.
I'll play store clerk for a minute.
Oh shit! I got robbed. Fuck.
I am not one to throw any shade at people who play sim games.
No.
I've played them. It's just weirdly good, weirdly fun. So some of the most bizarre games where you're like, why would you make this? And then 15 hours later, you're like, what happened?
Dude,
What day is it?
I won't shame any genre because they're all video games. They're
Sports
all meant to
games.
be fun.
Shame.
I will
Like,
shame so many things.
If I could just circle back to Fallout for a minute. People
he's
bothered
got
me
more.
about
For-
Fallout 4.
For if you are for a minute, because we're going to wrap it up.
Okay. There was no consequences in the fucking game. I could be a member of the fucking Brotherhood of Steel and the fucking the CIT motherfuckers and the other fucking people, and they're all like,
yeah, thumbs up.
This was Fallout 4?
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Like you can join diametrically opposed factions and do all their fucking
feel like
faction
the game
missions.
Specifically does not let you do that.
No, that's not at all the case.
You have to choose. And it warns you when you're going to join. It's like, if you do this, you will not be able
No,
to
you're
join.
thinking of Fallout New Vegas.
Yeah.
I'm gonna
right,
Fallout 4 is mostly panned for
check
its
me.
poor writing and lack of story. Like, I mean, the gameplay is there and it's fun. I think I might have liked the gameplay in 4 better than 3 just because it was newer and they had time with that engine and all that. But 3 overall is kind of taken as a whole as a better game than 4 was. And then, of course, New Vegas, mostly because of its writing and its story and its characters, is fantastic.
So you can join multiple, but not ones that are in conflict, is what Google says. So you can be in the Minutemen and the Brother of Steel, but not Brother of Steel and the Institute. Jujul has spoken.
True. Well, now that the Jujul has spoken, you guys ready to end it?
Yes.
All right.
I want to end on the note of, I will not shame people that play simulation games, but I will absolutely shame Grand Theft Auto role players.
What?
He's got to make a call.